Where do you stand on universal background checks?
I do not support any changes to our current law. What we see with most politicians in Washington and a lot of the media critics on this is the idea that somehow if we pass one more law in Washington that would change the issue. It does not. We have a very violent culture. I have an 11-year-old son and he has an Xbox. There are games that he doesn't get to play. We need parents, moms and dads of engaging. We need communities engaging folks to deal with what's been a very violent culture, and it comes out of Hollywood too. It's interesting, the president made 23 proposals to deal with gun violence. I agreed with one of those proposals, and that was, why don't we enforce our current gun laws? There's been a massive decline in enforcement of our current gun laws by this president. People have died as a result. It's time he steps up, Eric Holder steps up and does the job enforcing current gun laws.
So now, one thing that a lot of the liberals are, and maybe I know your answer, but they're saying that over 90% of Americans support these background checks. What do you say to those 90%? Do you basically say, look, I'm fighting for you, and maybe you're not so clear?
Well, obviously, we don't dictate First Amendment by popular vote, and we shouldn't do it on the second, third, or fourth, or the 10th. Take your pick. But currently, we have, as an aside, we have multiple Democrat governors that refuse to provide data on mentally ill that should go in these background checks, and we have a system that needs to be improved.
So you're saying maybe we should have some background? You're saying
we already do have background checks, and the real question here, though, is a violent culture, and we can't do everything in Washington. We need states to step up. We need the governor of New York to share the data they have on mentally ill, and so if folks are in that condition, obviously under current law they shouldn't be able to purchase a gun. But the real problem here is individuals, not a new law in Washington, D.C.
Right, the guns don't shoot themselves, so to speak.
They usually don't. You see accidents happen all the time. I'm a gun owner myself, and my son is as well, at 11-year-old. And again, there's a long tradition, not just of hunting, but of self-defense. That's what it was for. The Second Amendment it was not about hunting, Mr. President. It was about self-protection as well as protection from government.
So you just said your son is a gun owner as well. Do you support maybe more students in schools having guns so they can protect themselves should a violent offense happen?
Well, in particular school my son is in, the principal is a Marine. And I think that would be a great idea if he had concealed carry in our school, but that'll be up to the folks in the school. But those are kind of things, are common sense things that should be decided by the local school, by parents in the community, not by Barack Obama and Eric Holder, who refused to enforce our current laws, especially in Chicago.